Yeah, when in the scene where they're weighing in, Mark Schultz is one of the guys who's weighing in Channing Tatum. There's a big close-up of him. And Mark had visited us for like 2 days. And to be honest, I think it was an uncomfortable experience for Channing to have the real guy standing there watching him with headphones on, looking at the monitor. And we had to ask him for some space. But beyond him, dozens and dozens of people who had something to do with the story and who cared about the story and were friends with Dave Schultz, who had 1,000 best friends, came out to, support us and to share their anecdotes and be part of the movie in whatever way might be helpful. And the effect that it had is it charged the atmosphere, I think, with a kind of solemnity and a seriousness about the fact that this happened, that this really happened, all of this stuff really happened. And to me, that was the big effect. What's happening with our other guests?
We're not sure. Sorry.
But, yeah.
Thank you, and I apologize for the slight distraction there. Similarly, Jean-Marc, Cheryl Strayed is credited as associate producer. I gather that she was a presence on the set. Is that always a nurturing, informing thing? Is that sometimes intimidating in terms of what we call artistic license?
She was totally okay with it. Cheryl knew that. And I had her blessing. It's your film, Jean-Marc, and she was so cool with it. And but she was there on the set because she was so excited about the fact that we were making a film about her life and her book. And this girl has such an amazing, wild life. And so she became on the trail part. She became my technical advisor. As when I was saying cut, sometimes I was like, just looking back, and is she okay with this? Did I do right? Or before a take, before a shot, as I was prepping, before I was talking to Reese to tell her what to do with the stuff, the Odin, that thing, and I was going to her, okay, we're doing this part here, blah, blah, blah. And so she was there as, technical advisor, and Reese never felt, it's funny, Reese never felt uncomfortable about her presence, being watched by the real girl that she was portraying. Although, for the most emotional scenes in the film, Cheryl just stepped back and didn't want to be there close or look at the monitor when we had one, because we didn't have the video village that we call, as we call it, and just shooting with the camera and put a small monitor on top of the camera, and so she knew the game. I think she had the instinct, and she was respectful of what we were doing, and curious and happy to be part of it and to witness it, and often also so emotional, since her daughter played little Cheryl in the film, and so yeah, lots of beautiful emotional moments.
Oh yeah. And was Kashua on the set with you? Did he have direct input?
No, actually he was there for 5 minutes, more or less, and got bored, I guess. No, in my case it's a little bit different, because even though it's his life, it's his family, it's partly what he went through, and it's a book that he wrote, and he wrote the script before I actually stepped in and, we did a few drafts together. I think he understood and I understood that he just can't be there. It's too emotional, and I was taking the film in a direction which is at once loyal to the original story and to the script, and yet, as I said before, it has its own life. And once you have that life, you can only work with that world, that universe. And I can't, I know it's coming from, I'll say Europe, even though we're not exactly in Europe, but let's say on the edge. it's a different school of thought in a way versus America, I think, in the sense of the presence of writers or the presence of real life characters. I think we tend to kind of make a certain separation, because I think it's, in a way, healthier for the film. But, you know, there's probably varying points of view on this. And, you know, I worked on a lot of my films, like Lemon Tree was about a Palestinian widow who took the Israeli Minister of Defense to court. And these were real ministers and a real Palestinian woman, etc. But I never met the minister, for instance, because my minister was like any minister in the world. So I think we're probably all going to say the same. You know, there's a life up there that you're part of as a director, and you're responsible for everything up there. And the reality is, it's a different reality. It's just not there.
I'm going to pause for just a second because I gather there was a screw-up on the part of scheduling, and Jon Stewart and Gael Garcia Bernal thought they were on yesterday's panel, but guess what? They're here. We kept the seat for you anyway. Hey, Gael. Thank you for coming. Thank you. No, it's quite all right. We're better late than never. We're glad to have you.
Yeah.
And I chose not to introduce these two people until they were here, A, because I wasn't sure they were coming, and B, because I want them to know how appreciated they are by me and the rest of us here. So I'm going to start by saying that Gael Garcia Bernal, we are welcoming him back to Telluride, because he's been here with quite a few films. We know him from movies like with Inarritu, Amores Perros, with Cuarón, Y Tu Mamá También, with Almodóvar, Bad Education, Walter Salles, The Motorcycle Diaries, Michel Gondry's The Science of Sleep, and most recently Pablo Larraín, the film No from Chile. And he was also, by the way, one of the directors of a compilation film called Eight, along with Jane Campion and Wim Wenders, Gus Van Sant, Mira Nair. He ain't just an actor. Gael Garcia Bernal. To introduce the man to his right, I'll put it this way. I don't think it's a coincidence that one of the early images in Rosewater is from Dr. Strangelove, when Maciar's character is walking past a Tehran storefront. And I started thinking about that, and I decided that maybe Jon Stewart is the Stanley Kubrick of television. That's all good. It's all good. And I'll explain why. The Kubrick of contemporary television commentary. And why do I say that? Because they share something that's very close to my heart, and that is savage satire or liberating laughter, not as ends in themselves, but in the service of a humanizing vision. In case you didn't figure it out just now, I am a huge fan of the host of The Daily Show with Jon Stewart, and I am delighted that he has made a film out of the book that they came from me, A Family Story of Love, Captivity, and Survival, by the Iranian journalist Maziar Bahari, who was jailed in Tehran in 2009 after being accused of espionage. One of the pieces of evidence was that he had appeared on The Daily Show in a comic segment with James Jones, and that was used as evidence of his being a spy. It is a great honor to welcome to Telluride television's voice of conscience becoming part of the terrific rank of first-time directors, Jon Stewart. Okay, so we've been discussing things like, to what extent does the filmmaker have a responsibility more to the source material or to his or her own guiding vision? And we were talking about what it's like to have the real person still alive and still consulting with you. I'm going to hold off for 1 second before I turn this to you, because I was about to ask Régis Varnier the question of having that real person. And
so the Frenchman, François Bizot, meant to come on the shooting in Cambodia, and for some reasons I'm not aware of, he cancelled his coming. Of course, we wouldn't have Dutch on the set because he was in jail, but there was someone very important for the movie, and I don't know if you heard of Riti Pan, Cambodian director, producer, and Riti in a way has been fascinated by Dutch's personality, and he made 2 documentaries about Dutch. One about the prison named S21, and one about Dutch himself. And after a long talk, Riti accepted to be our co-producer and partner in Cambodia. It was very, very uneasy for him because I would say in a way Dutch was belonging to him, the work on Dutch. And who are we, just French director coming from very long distance to want to portray Dutch and to embody him with an actor. So he was quite reluctant. But at a stage, he let us do. I remember he came on the first day of the shoot. He just had lunch. He didn't come on the set. He said, okay, I'm confident, do your job. And when we show him the movie, we were very, very, I would say, stressed. And great relief at the end of the screening because he has been amazed by the work of the young Cambodian guy. Just to tell you something, this young Cambodian guy portraying Dutch, of course he's a guy who speaks French. He had to speak French for the part. He's a French teacher, he's a stage theater, he's not an actor. But as a translator, he has been working in the trial of Dutch as Dutch's own translator into French. So he had got, I would say, during 8 months, he had got Dutch words silent.